I suffer from celiac disease. A disease? That sounds scary, doesn't it? People with celiac disease can become very ill when they come into contact with gluten or anything that contains it. I only found out recently I had celiac disease after my mum was diagnosed, as it can be hereditary. But what is gluten? Gluten is a structural protein, as it's made up of two types of protein: gliadin, which is represented by the red balls, and glutenin, which is represented by the elastic. These join together with water to form gluten. Gluten's main property is its elasticity. This is why foods like pizza will have a high gluten content. Gluten gains its elasticity from bonds formed from hydrogen that's in the gliadin and glutenin. This helps to create a network of molecules, which means the gluten will stretch and won't tear. Gluten is found in wheat, rye, barley, and oats, which means it's in flour and therefore a variety of other foods. But many foods become unsuitable for celiacs due to cross-contamination. However, gluten is also found in certain makeups, soaps, and medication, as it's used as a binder to help stick ingredients together. But what happens when a celiac comes into contact with gluten? Well, whether it's eating, touching, or simply inhaling it, coming into contact with gluten can be very serious. When gluten enters the body, the immune system sends antibodies to attack it. This process can damage the villi, which are tiny, hair-like structures inside our small intestine. These help to absorb nutrients from our food into our blood. So over time, someone with celiac disease can develop deficiencies like anemia, which is lack of iron. However, it may surprise you to find out that no one can digest gluten, whether they have a condition or not, as we've simply not evolved to yet. But how common is celiac disease? Well, every 1 in 100 people in the UK and Europe suffer from celiac disease, but only 30% of those know they have it, so they may have no symptoms or it hasn't been triggered yet. Or in some cases, it's taken the form of another condition, like thyroid disease or diabetes, as they're all part of the same group of autoimmune conditions. But it's not all bad, as in Australia, they're currently starting to develop new ways to treat and test for celiac disease. But at the moment, the most common test is just a blood test. This shows your TTG levels. This is tissue transglutaminase, the antibody that attacks gliadin. So the higher your TTG levels, the more severe your celiac disease will be. So, celiac disease isn't that scary once you know what it is. But next time you eat a sandwich or a piece of cake, think about the millions worldwide who have to find an alternative.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Hannah, sharing your own story as well and taking us through that really complex topic. Thank you. We're going over to the judges now for some questions. So maybe, Jo, you would like to kick us off?
Yes, I mean, this is obviously a topic that I imagine you already knew quite a bit about because of having had celiac disease, but I'm wondering what new thing you did discover in preparing for your FameLab talk.
Well, that's the funny thing. When I found out I had celiac disease as well as my mum, we didn't know a lot. We didn't have any appointments or anything. So the reason I picked it was so I could learn about it and I could find out more for my benefit. So it was also good to find out that so many people have it. So it was 1 in 100. I was like, wow, I'd never heard of anyone that had it before.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jo. And Krista, did you want to ask us something?
Yes. How did you prepare for your presentation?
Well, I did lots of practicing. I went over notes. I had lots of flashcards and talked to my friends and my family about it.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. You can collect your pop and back down. And another massive round of applause for Hannah.